now, Tirchit, EVP for Product Management at Zycus, please come again on stage and really show a bit more what it's about. We don't only want to talk, we also want to show. But I leave it to Tirchit with GenAI and agentic AI. What does it mean? How does it look like?
Thanks. I will just do a system check. I think this is where I am in my natural habitat, running the product. How do we enable our entire set of users that go through this journey of procurement, starting with Merlin Assist and intake management for the business and power users, and ending on the other end with an optimized agentic platform that gets you these efficiencies. So just reiterating on what we saw yesterday, the agents the computer programs that do self-determined tasks, so you don't need to tell them how to do it, but you only give them predetermined objectives. And they figure out what is to be done, do that in a sequence in parallel through the agent orchestration, leverage all the information of the core S2P that you have through the APIs, build retrieval augmented generation on them, build out the LLM models, and then just let the autonomous flows do what they are supposed to do. Right, so just a quick primer. This is how the various flows we saw yesterday, just to jog up a bit of memory. The first one, the autonomous negotiation agent, is something that we're going to focus today. And this is something that looks like this. Now, why do I want to showcase this before I go into the hands-on demo? It helps us understand the processes as a human or a human team would do. And how would these agents individually and then collectively in a flow help us attain the objectives of getting those negotiated bids without putting more than 10 minutes of effort. So that's going to be the focus area for this demonstration. I will also showcase how easy it is for our business users to raise a request through intake management and how seamlessly it is connected to the agentic AI, which helps us get the efficiencies that we are taking up for. So Merlin Intake gets the entire user experience for our business users, and the GenAI capabilities help our procurement teams. And I also wanted to keep this as a precursor for, and it's not something that is very important, but this is a policy which is in 1 or 20 Word documents or PDFs somewhere hidden in your system. People don't know where it is. People rarely read it, and if they change, they are bound to make a mistake. This is the crux of those policy items as to how the system will interpret it. It is a language graph built out of those policies. I've just kept it here. If the font is too small, I can read those out for you. But in essence, user need is identified. That's the first step. That's intake management. And then it identifies if it is in catalog or not. Catalog, create a PR. If it is not, check for supplier. Supplier is contracted, create PR. If it is not, find the contract value, purchase value, and take up contract request, sourcing request, or ANA. Right? So it's as simple as that. There are some values there. But let's get to the demo aspect now. So I'm going to bring my teams on the right side of the stage. And it fits almost perfectly here. Okay, perfect. So let's start with something very simple. That says a business user logs into MS Teams and they look at this screen. Now, they don't need to be keeping in mind what is it that they have to do. All the actions are personalized for them, and you can look at what are the immediate actions that they need to look at. We see a lot of risk assessments that are pending on this user, or they need to approve, complete. There are frequent actions. You can create requisitions, approve items, approve purchase orders. Whatever you do frequently gets set up here. So these are the panels where it simply says, tell us how we can help you today. By the way, if you want some help, there are various actions that you can carry out. Okay, so let's start with the first case. The user comes in and says, my printer is broken. Now, how do they get support of this? If this happens, they would probably call up the IT team, they would call up probably the procurement team, and this is a question probably they are going to answer. Are you looking to purchase a new printer or you want to service the new one? At this stage, I'm fed up of the ink bleeding that is happening in the printer, and I simply say purchase. So what happens now? The system goes in, it has identified the intent of the user, the pain point of the user, the challenge they are facing. They've recommended a course of action, and then it is going to the policy, reading the policy. What is it that you can do for an item for printer? And it goes in. Now, it is finding catalog recommendations because the first option that we have in the setup is recommendation to purchase from catalog. Compliance starts right here. It does not go till the procurement team. It starts right here, and then it goes and shows various options that you already have in the catalog. So within a minute, we can get to the catalog items by starting with a very vague need that said, my printer is broken. I can simply add this to cart. I like this printer. Let's say I want to 3D printer. Cool. And we can just review cart right here. It builds up the cart, and I can check it out right here. Now, what it does, it builds up the details within the entire requisition form. Merlin Smart Shopper has auto-filled all the fields. You just go in there, review the high-level details. Is the shipping address correct? If it is, then we just go down, see all the details, what all is happening, and you can just click I'm done. So starting from an unidentified user need to placing a request for it from the catalog that is compliant makes it a very high value proposition for the business users, and the users on the procurement team that are getting this request are getting a very structured request. So that's the point of entry. That's the front door to procurement that enables a seamless experience for our business users. Now, let's look at another quick example, and that would eventually lead us to the next demonstration. So let's say I want to purchase butterfly valves. Now, again, what happens is the system goes in and evaluates the policies. If there is something that we like from the catalog, we can show and take the previous route. But let's say in this case, it's a very niche need or a very specific need by the user to take up something that is not in catalog. It's a different spec of the item that is not available. So we don't want to look at the butterfly valves that are available in the catalogs, but I want to order a non-catalog items. Now this is where the creeping of efficiencies and compliance starts in, but let's see how we handle that. So now we come to the next step that says this goes for a contracted supplier. We give you supplier recommendations. We already have suppliers for this category. Do you want to select any one of them? So at this stage, they don't have a supplier in the setup. It also said we could not find any setup. So let's say I have a supplier in mind. I spoke to them and I entered that in the setup. Now, the step says that if there is a supplier that is entered by the user, we should evaluate whether they are a contracted supplier or not. And that's what the system is doing, whether it is contracted or not. It keeps on giving you the incremental information that is coming in the system. It says your vendor is not contracted. Let me figure out what I can do for you next. And that's where it's going to see what is the value that you are looking for. So it asks what is the contract value. This is exactly as per policy. And I go in and say that butterfly valves are cheap. It would not cost me more than $1 million. The policy says you can go ahead and create a contract request. That is followed by a third-party risk management. That is followed by you putting in a request to actually purchase. So it has figured out not only the first point of entry, but it has figured out what has to happen next, and it will let you track the status. The business user who has no idea about this complex policy, in documents, the system is recommending you create a contract request now, fill it up, submit it. When it is processed by one team that is in legal, you go to the risk team. That request will be automatically created. You'll see the progress that's happening right here, and then you will be able to create a purchase requisition, still keeping the process completely compliant. So that's how a non-catalog purchase can still be compliant based on the organization's policy. I can continue, select a request, and fill out the form just like we did for requisition. I'll not spend time on this because there is more exciting setup that I want to showcase. So let's say I'm struggling with a larger screen. I needed maybe 2 big screens with a laptop stand. Not this big, but I want to get a laptop dual stand to help me present better. So let's say I want to get laptop dual slot stand for upcoming conference. Now, that process again goes through. We are looking at what are the laptop stands that are available in catalog, but I have a very specific stand in mind. The specs are these. I have pretty large screens that I want to showcase it on. The audience is more than 100, so I need pretty sturdy setups. Now, the recommendations that come for the laptop dual stand, let's look at those. Yeah, so these are mostly coming in. Let's look at it. These are the ones that's, mostly on a desk setup. I don't want to order something like this, so I order a non-catalog item. So the contracted suppliers, again, standard process, following the same process, helping the user understand what is going to happen. We are recommending the vendor suppliers. Let's say I don't know what is a supplier. I really don't know, what this is about, and I don't want to select any of these because they might not be having it, and I really don't have the time. I just want to put in that one-liner request and get it to procurement. So I'm not sure about this as well. System understands it. It just asks a basic question. Then, as per the setup, what is your purchase value? So my purchase value for laptop stand would be $2,000 at max for that size. So I say less than $25,000 euros. So that's the basic setup that came up. Now you can initiate the autonomous sourcing and negotiation agent from the Merlin agentic platform, because that's how the system is set up. For the policy, you are purchasing something that is less than $25,000. You give us just a few more details. The item that we have taken up, I think the next thing we'll do is put in the category. This is also automatically generated, but for now, let me put this in. Quantity, let's say I want 40 of them. Niches, and currency, let's say 0. Now, it says that you have all the details. You can proceed to autonomous sourcing. Now, when we go to autonomous sourcing, what happens is it initiates a flow, and this is a flow that we have been looking. So what you'll recollect is the flow that we were showing. I was showing in the presentation here. This is what we have built as an agentic flow for autonomous negotiation, sourcing and negotiation. So let me just go back to the setup that we have here. Now what has happened here is we look at the details for the laptop dual stand. All those details have been fixed in. But let me quickly show you how all of this is built in before we actually let it run autonomously. So this is our home page, and we see all the products in the setup. And we go to the Merlin agentic platform. Now, these are all the flows that have been configured, but let's see how a new flow gets created. You land onto the page, and you can simply start adding agents from the Merlin setup. And once you start adding agents in the core, let me do that quickly again. So, okay, so I have the Murphy's Law. Let me pull up the template. Now, we can stitch those flows completely, but the autonomous sourcing with negotiation is a flow that is already configured as a template. Now, what you can do is you can go directly in the system and you can see system recommendation of all the agents that are in the system. I can build this setup, I can delete, add agents, I can go to the various settings for all these agents. So now you can see the trigger. What we saw was a Merlin assist trigger where the intent was to create an autonomous agent that starts with a low dollar value purchase. A business user would prefer that. A power user or a procurement user might have a list of 20, 30 purchase requisitions that are pending to be purchased, less than 500, 10,000 euros, whatever that threshold is there for your organization. You can select those purchase requisitions, club them, and flip them into a sourcing event. Or you can just enter manually the details. So the reason I'm showing this is you can, at an organization level, give recommendations for all the configurations you want to have for each and every agent, and then you can connect them. You can mark them as autonomous, or you can keep control about it with your team. So you can mark this as autonomous. Create events. Similarly, the configurations are simple. Do you want to set a base price from your previous purchases? If you are integrated with Amazon Business, you can get Amazon Business price for the items that you are looking at. If there are any terms that you want to add, otherwise GenAI will do that for you. And similarly, finding suppliers. How many suppliers do you want to add? Do you only want internal suppliers? Do you want to discover new suppliers, or you want to add third-party suppliers in the setup? Let me just quickly zoom out a bit. Yeah, so you can add suppliers from supplier.io. That's a partner that we have engaged here. And again, make it autonomous. Collecting bids, reminding people of how many bids they have to submit, how many reminders do you want to send, what is the follow-up that you want to do, and then negotiation. What are the strategies that you want to take up? Do you want to put a game theory setup using competitive pricing and asking the vendors or suppliers to reduce their prices? What should be the tonality of your negotiation? Do you want to reset the base prices? What are the guardrails, if any? Do you want this to be authenticated by suppliers? If you're sending a negotiation item, you can make sure that only the person who has access to that email gets this authenticated, follow-up suppliers, and all those things. Again, configurable setup for this agent that fits in anywhere in the flow. And then you can award. So if it is less than a particular amount, you can make it automated. So number of eligible suppliers for award and what is the dollar values that you want to see. So it's as simple as that you take up a template, make configuration changes, add, delete agents, and just publish it. So you publish it right there, and this agent flow is ready to be used by your organization. The only addition I'll make to this setup is the configurations that you do at your organization level will also be available to change if you choose to at the event level. So if you are purchasing a laptop or a set of laptops for $80,000 and you are purchasing laptop stands in a different equation with, in a different event with $2,000, you may want to change that at the event level as well. So that's the change you can do further at the event level. I'll show you now how we can attain that. So this is the autonomous sourcing with the negotiation setup that we have. Let me just run this event. And we see the sourcing trigger. Now the sourcing trigger that we had set up, had the initiations from Merlin Assist, the one we saw. This is a procurement user coming in and looking at all the purchase requisitions that are pending to be sourced that need a quote. So this is an item. Let's see what this purchase requisition is about. I've taken the same example for the laptop dual stand for maintaining continuity, and you can just confirm this item. Now, once this is done, this item will help all the details. The system will evaluate the details that have been submitted and then pre-fill all those details and create an event for you. That event is set as manual. We go to that event and that event will help us move further. So I just confirm, I'll just look at the details. These are the details that have been entered. The laptop dual strength, by when do we need it? What is the bin end date, negotiation end date? All these values have been taken up based on the configuration. The questions have been added, a default question that you always want to have, and some GenAI recommended questions that we added in the system. Now, what will happen? With these details, it's gonna take the recommendations of the suppliers. So the next step is find a suppliers. It will go in, find suppliers for you for this event. And let's look at what are the suppliers that are there. So there are some GenAI recommended suppliers that are external, and there are internal suppliers that we see which can happen. I think some of the recommendations are for our internal setup. So let me just select the internal ones. And confirm that. So this will help us move this event to the bid collection phase. Before I move forward, I'll call this out. For the purpose of this demo, we have made all these agents as manual. They have not been tuned or configured to be autonomous. If they had been, all this would have happened in the background, and once you publish the event, it will give you a message that come back in 7 days by November 4th, because that's when negotiation ends, and we will show you optimized and negotiated bids. That's all you need to do. So all this would be happening in the background. All I'm doing at this stage, at this point, is clicking next or reviewing some details. Then this bid collection process starts. So all the users or the suppliers who have been shared with this bid. So I must have received an email by the supplier Cable Time. So let me just check my inbox. Here it is. So this is the email that comes to the suppliers, and I can just go in, submit a bid. It opens up. So the question is, these 3 questions come up. What quality measures? Multiple for this. I'll be very, brief. And yes, during contracting, and that's all. I submit this bid. So this is a total of €1,000 bid that has been submitted. The system has been, let's see if any of those details, are popping. This is a buyer view. So buyer is looking at if there are some bids that are submitted. What it does to enable buyers, it shows the quoted price that is the lowest. If you've had a purchase before, it shows that price. Amazon Business is integrated, so it was able to fetch those prices, $25.99. And then it shows all the bids there and recommends what is it that you want to do. So at this stage, all the bids have been received. I don't have any suppliers pending. And I confirm the details that are there. Now this will automatically move the system into the negotiation stage, where all the suppliers will get an email. We have started with email because this is the most widely adopted. That'll open a negotiation panel for them, and they negotiate with the system to see what happens. So let's go to negotiations. So actually I need to go to my email, and here it is. So now what happens is, I receive this email that says, we appreciate your participation on this, and we have a request for review of your pricing proposal. So now the supplier goes in, reviews what is the pricing proposal that is coming in. Now all of this happens over the course of a day or two, because a supplier or third party interaction or input is required. But that's the setup comes in. When I log in, I am requested for getting a more competitive price, but at this stage I'm not that inclined to give anything. So I'm saying, sorry, not possible. Now, all these messages that are coming up can be easily configured to have the delays, the tonality that we can configure in the system, how fast or how slow we want this to have, to act like a human agent, working in the background. So it says, 25 is still significantly higher. We have received, better rates from competition, and gives a counter. So at this stage, for this counter, I discuss internally and I come back, say, okay, let's do so now all this conversational, the supplier does not need to make any changes or calculate anything. The price is calculated for them. It gets a 5% discount offer, but it is still nudging. Can you give me a more competitive price? If not, then we can close this. So let's say it's difficult further. It's better than all the prices that we have. And if you see, the current bid price item has been updated to 23.75. The system is now evaluating what can happen, mimicking typing. And we have accepted your latest bid for this. Feel free to reach out if you have any other good deals available before the bidding ends. It ends in 4 days. So you still have the time open, but for now we have accepted this offer as your final offer, and we'll come back to you if you win the deal. So that's where the negotiation ends with this particular supplier. Let's look at how the other suppliers are doing. So these are all the negotiations that have happened. There are few suppliers in our team who were trying the system out. So let's say what happened with the other supplier. This is a buyer view. This is the buyer view of how the conversation has happened for the other suppliers. They can look at all the conversations in one place, see how the negotiation went in and was completed. So the price for the other, it never changed. They did not budge from 25, which was the final price, and your bid has been kept at the same item. Now, similarly, all the other ones, cable time was the one that I was trying out, which is 23.75. So that's something that the buyer sees simply here. And at this stage, if I confirm this, I like this 23.75 bid the best, which is the negotiated bid. Gives me a saving of somewhat 40 items, some euros that come in, but that's the euro that was being left on the table, not negotiated with 30 agents or 30 suppliers, in the setup. And we can simply move to award, see which is the best supplier, and we can put up an award to them, deciding this is the best offer.
Thanks a lot, Tejit.
Thank you so much. Thank you.